Hello cave dwellers, welcome into the cave. I hope you're ready for some construction today, sawing, building, cladding, all sorts, because we are extending the cave from cave 4.0 to cave 4.1. And I've set myself an insane 2-week deadline to get a huge amount of work done. It's all going to be done in today's episode. Oh, I am exhausted. You may see it on my face as the series goes on, but we've got over the finish line and I'm delighted to give you a tour of it and the whole process today. Now, what am I talking about? Cave 4.1. Let's have a recap. Let's go back through the caves. The first cave was a basement which was barely shoulder width wide. You didn't see much of that on YouTube. This is going back to when I registered the channel and I was just using it to sell some stuff on eBay. Cave 2 was my back bedroom, which was when I started making videos proper and the cave took off. I had no idea what I was doing. My videos had a yellow sheen to them. My audio was echoey, but it was the start of a journey that took us to where we are today. Cave 3 was when we rented a dedicated underground office and I went full-time as a YouTuber and we built the wooden crate set and things really did blow up from there on and I acquired a tremendous amount of support from you who enjoyed what I was doing, and I was determined to give back to you all of that support by making a better cave, by making better videos. And that's then when we stepped up to cave 4 under the threat of my landlord at the time at cave 3. They'd applied to change the offices into residential property during lockdown. The owners of the mill here stepped up and offered me a space, and that's when we moved here and came up with the wild idea of not just being a YouTube channel, but building a museum, and that's what we've done. However, there is something I really miss from the previous cave, cave 3. It's this space here. Do you remember the lab? I had a dedicated workbench on which I could do my repairs. It was really easy to leave things out that I was working on while I ordered parts in. I could quickly turn around videos. It was a stark contrast to what I have to do here, which is take everything out onto the wooden tables in the hands-on area, whatever table I can get my hands on, in fact, do the work, film it, put it all away again because there might be a public day at the weekend. So today we are building a new dedicated lab for cave 4.1. And then I think it's fair to say I got carried away, and we'll cross that bridge as we come to it later, because not only have I done a lab, which is just behind the curtains here, I've just gone to town on the whole studio end, and we'll get to that in a minute. Let's start with the lab and let's show you what we were working with. We'd like to thank PCBWay.com for supporting our episode today. They aren't just about PCBs, although they do a tremendous job of that. They also offer CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication, 3D printing and injection molding. If you're creating, then PCBWay.com can help you bring your project to life. Get an instant quote now over at PCBWay.com, and we thank them for their support. It's located behind the library area. Long-term viewers will remember I used to talk about a secret arcade we wanted to build here. Well, that went out the window when the Arcade Archive, a dedicated arcade museum, opened down on the ground floor of the mill. So I thought, what am I going to do with this space next? Now at the back of the space you can see the Racking, that's my storage area. And then in the foreground there's this space where I've just got some random junk around there. There is a desk in the corner that I just use for emails. I do my editing at home on a more powerful machine, so that's just a machine for basic emails and things like that. Let's go into the storage area. You can see the rack in there. That does need a bit of a sort out and a good inventory, but that's a whole other project. That can happen another day. We will get to that. So we've got this storage area, and we'll come back into the space that I'm talking about here and pan over to the right, hopefully. I'm just watching this back on my laptop as I talk to you on camera. There we go. That's the majority of the space there on the right hand side. That's what I want to turn into a lab. So I think it's a pretty good piece of space. I'd like to build a wall along the right hand side, wall in the whole storage room, and put a door on it. You can see it's got a nice high ceiling. It's got skylight, so it's got some good natural light in there as well. So that's the space we're working with as a lab. Now I've avoided this for quite some time because if we look at the ceiling here, you'll see some brown stains on the ceiling and down the cloth on the wall there. That's because we had a leak in this area. And the landlord's been very good and completely resurfaced the flat area of the roof that was leaking. It's stained on the carpet there and everything. But they've patched it all up now, so we are confident that there will be no more leaks. Not quite as confident in my skills in keeping plants alive. That's something else I need to figure out. But anyway, here's the space, and I think it's a pretty sizable space. I think we can do good things with this space, but it's going to take a lot of work. And work we did, starting with clearing out the rest of the items that were there. We needed to get them out the way with the willing help of Alex. He's always keen to help me, bless him. Great guy to have around the mill. That's Alex, who runs the arcade archive. So we got some items out that I couldn't get out on my own, including that extremely heavy 32-inch CRT TV. We won't be moving that again in a hurry. And then we started to bring up the materials needed to make this happen, starting with a large amount of CLS wood. Remember, we're on the 4th floor of a mill, so everything has to be carried up. There is a half-height goods lift, but it doesn't come up to my floor, and it's no good for over 2-meter lengths of wood like this. So everybody chipped in to help us get this up the stairs, including Richard there. And then we got the tools out and we got to work on building the wall. Now, there's a big difference between Richard and I when it comes to building. I would describe Richard as the precision engineer. He makes sure the framework, the stud wall is up and everything is straight and there are right angles where there should be right angles. I'm more of the grunt. I'm the manual labor. Give me a drill and I'll work for days drilling cladding onto that wall. You know, just set me on a path and let me go and I'll get on with it. But when it needs precision, it's really down to Richard to make that happen for me. And he very generously gave me his time. Here's a time lapse here of him putting that stud wall together. And you can see what we're doing there is trying to just box in that whole storeroom with the door. We don't need to go all the way to the ceiling. We can just go up to that beam there, which actually offers a nice amount of support for us to rest the wall against, and a nice straight line as well to build the wall against. So there you go. You can see the door in the middle there. Richard working very hard building the frame. And with that done, it was my turn to put the noggins in. I put more noggins than you normally would, those horizontal beams, because we're going to be cladding and I wanted as much wood as possible to be able to drill the cladding into. And I had plenty of spare wood left over, so I put lots of noggins in. Noggin's a good word, isn't it? I like the word noggin. There they go. And while that was happening, the wood cladding also arrived. The first part of this whole 2-week process involved ordering things, making sure things were in stock, making sure everything would arrive on time so that I could get everything done to my deadline. And here is that cladding coming off of the truck now, and me taking an opportunity to get a breather before having to carry even more up to the top of the mill. Honestly, I hope I never ever have to move out of this place because it is gonna hurt taking everything back down again. There we go, there's our cladding all wrapped up. I had to give the delivery driver a little bit of assistance with my own truck because the pallet that it was on had partially collapsed. So I got my truck under there and helped to lift it so he could get his out, and then got on with the job of carrying 30 square meters of reclaimed cladding up to the top of the mill. It's thirsty work just watching this back. I'm gonna need some more tea in a moment. And then up we go with the wooden cladding up the stairs. If you hadn't already guessed, I bought a GoPro some months back, so I take every opportunity to attach my GoPro to everything and get an angle of everything that's going on. But it gives you an idea of the work of just getting these materials up into the cave. It's no small feat. There we go, and I was storing the materials in a room that the landlord has very kindly allowed me to just temporarily use. I'll get everything out of there very quickly now this build is complete. But they were very generous in just giving me a little bit of storage space. And that was my job. Now, remember how I said I wasn't a precision engineer? I did my very best to keep these straight and level with the spirit level. They did get a tiny bit out of kilter towards the right-hand side of the wall, so I didn't quite get it right. But I had the opportunity where the door frame is to adjust it, to almost reset that and get it straight again. So it goes off tiny little bit skew if, and then it straightens up again, and at a glance you wouldn't notice. The reclaimed wood, I've gone for a kind of bluey grey look to it. It's reclaimed floorboards, which I've put up there from another mill. I found them from a reclamation yard, and I think they look pretty good. Very similar to the reclaimed wood that we used when we built this cave originally. On the other side of the wall, in the main area of the cave, similar, but that had more of an orangey colour to it. I've gone for the blues and the greys for the lab. It's not just this back wall here, it goes all the way around to the right. There's 3 walls in total that I clad. And the wall on the right-hand side that you can see there, that's the opposite side of the orange wall in the main area. So that stud wall had already been built in the initial build of the cave, and we'd just done nothing with the back of it because that leak was happening. We just wanted to leave it. So the stud wall's already there and the noggin's already in there, and that's ready to clad. And I'll charge on ahead now, otherwise you'll just have an hour of me cladding walls, and maybe some of you would enjoy that, but there's a whole lot more to show you. And it was time for some flooring. Now I could rip up that carpet and put new carpet down, but what if we want to move out one day? Well, it's nice to be able to just pick the flooring up and go. And we've had great success with this matting that I'm putting down here. We've used it in the other hands-on area. We've used it in the arcade archive. It's great for dampening sound when you're recording. Very easy to clean, very hard wearing. It's really made for garages. So, you know, it's resistant to oils and spills that you might get on there when you're working on a car. Scuffs and scrapes, you can dye it back to black again very easily with some, there's this black liquid dye that you can buy, and you just mop it on and it takes it back lovely and black again if it ever does fade. Really great stuff. And you can see me here laying the floor and then using a rubber mallet just to hammer down all the joins. And that hid all manner of sins, all of that leaks, those horrible brown stains from the dried leaks on the carpet. Not my problem anymore. That's all hidden under the matting. And even at this stage, I have to say, we're seeing a great transformation from the room that we started with. You can start to see some real potential with this space now. And I was really pleasantly surprised that it seemed bigger and bigger the more that I worked on it. I was worried that we would be working with limited space, but actually this really opened out and felt like a much bigger space than I ever thought it would be. So that was the floor down and the cladding, and now it was time to make a door, which was, well, something closer to precision engineering than I'm normally used to, but I threw myself at it. Richard wasn't available, so I thought, okay, Neil, you've got this. You've got plenty of CLS wood to make mistakes. Let's make a door. And do you know what? I think I did okay. The CLS is very hard to work with because anyone who's worked with that wood knows it's never perfectly straight. There's a lot of twisting that goes on with that wood, and it's difficult to make sure everything is straight. So what I did, I made a frame here, and then I had a large piece of Perspex, which was just scrap Perspex in the garage downstairs, and I cut that to size and screwed that to the back, so that really helped to strengthen and straighten out all of the wood and get it all in line. And you'll see there's this big gap in the middle. Now what I wanted to do with that was put cassette tapes. I wanted to make the door a display. So we took another piece of Perspex, and then Richard appeared. He was able to help me, which was a godsend. And we put that Perspex on the front, and into the front of the door, I put exactly 10 by 10 cassettes, 100 Codemasters cassettes. You've seen these before because they were in the plan chest. It's the complete set of Codemasters games for the ZX Spectrum. Well, I've put them in the door. There are more than 100, but other ones are slightly different shape, big box games and things like that. So I'm going to put them in a glass cabinet next to this door eventually. But that's a lovely display of 100 cassettes in a door. And then the whole door is it's a barn door on a roller at the top, so it slides. Rather than being on a hinge, it slides open and slides shut. And I have to say, I was really pleased with how that came out. It's a really nice functional door, as well as a nice feature for people to look at, and it's visible when the curtains are open there. The curtains will go, by the way, they're not staying there permanently. That's just for the big reveal in a moment, and then they're gone. That will just be an open space to walk through, and you're invited in by those backlit cassettes on the door, which you'll see in a moment. So very pleased with the door, but I wasn't done yet. I had a huge amount more work to do. I wanted to paint the opposite wall to the clad wall to freshen it up. It's this pretty grim magnolia colour, pretty dated looking. So I gave it a clean with some sugar soap just to prep it, cut in with a brush around the radiator there and around some electrical sockets and the skirting board. Got the rollers out. It really didn't take long at all actually to paint this wall. So we got this painted a bluey grey colour to match the cladding, with a bit of balancing on a ladder to get up to the top there. I really do love how high the ceilings are in this space. It gives it a lovely airy feel, which probably helps with what I was saying earlier, my expectation of it being a small space but feeling a lot bigger than it was. It's because it's got the lovely high ceilings there, and it really helps. And then we could start to think about some of the practicalities of this space. I'm going to have a desk in the middle of the room, and I want to get power to it. I want it to be a motorized desk that I can take up and down, as well as being able to plug in my soldering iron, desoldering gun, hot air blower, everything that I would need in a lab area without wires trailing across the floor. So we decided to drill a hole in the floor and have a bit of an explore. This mill was built in the 1700s. In fact, it dates back a lot further than that, but it was built and built on and built on and built on. So the main mill as it stands today was built in the 1700s. So we didn't really know what we were going to find under the floorboards and which way the The beams ran because we needed to run electrical cable to one of the sockets on the wall. So we had an Explorer with an endoscope, which Richard had a little look under the floor. We found beams under there which were at least 12 inches wide. It was just insane what we found under there. It was in no way standard when this was built, using standard materials. It was probably an old ship's mast or something crazy like that under the floor. But with the help of the endoscope, we did finally find a route under the floor that would get us past any of the beams and to the socket that we needed. I drilled an 11mm hole in the floor, and I had a cap to the same size that would go on top of that, and then I could just feed my cables through that. And all that remained then was to put furniture in and to dress the area, dress the set if you like, and make it all nice, put some signage up. And it was ready, which is an ideal point, I guess, to take you through the curtain there now and give you a tour of the lab. There are still some loose ends to tie up, which I'll talk you through as we walk around there, but I couldn't dedicate any more time to it. We hit the 2-week deadline and that was it. I had to draw a line under it, and it will just now naturally evolve as I get used to the space and tidy things up. Let's go and have a look. I'll take you behind the curtain. Here's what we started with then, and here is what we now have. Something of an improvement, I hope you agree. Hands-on space is on the right, as well as that PlayChoice arcade in front of us. And here's my lab bench. Now remember, this is the room prepped. In time, the shelves will fill with what I need to work with in here. Tools will appear, that's all to come. My objective was to create a space to accommodate it all with an uppy-downy desk in the middle. And I'm pretty satisfied that we've done that. In the corner here, I threw some old lockers at the back of the room, which are ideal for some of my tools to be locked away in there. Soldering iron, desoldering gun, all of that kind of stuff can be in there, providing nobody steals the keys. I'll have to take those out. Back in the hands-on area, I installed some lights behind the beams above the desks there to give a little bit of ambience, throw some light down. Cable trays are still needed under the desks like we have in the main room. We put those in the old build videos, you might remember, and that will really tidy things up under there. We'll get to that eventually. And I think I want to put some shelves up high there so that we can display peripherals and software for whatever machines we have on display. And then there's that door. I think that came out great. We even managed to get a nice bit of stepping with the cladding to step down towards the tapes there. Completely unplanned, it just worked out that way. And we've added the chunky handle to complete the look. It really is a lovely space to be in to try out the systems. I've got a PlayStation 2 set up over here at the moment with a gorgeous 16-inch Sony widescreen, and it got a good playtest with some of the visitors this weekend. This was before I installed the lighting, so we don't have those against the wall, but people enjoyed it nonetheless. And I started to use the space in earnest on Monday morning here, where I'm recording an episode of our weekly podcast, This Week in Retro, and it proved to be a really flexible space for me. I could wheel the TV round with the PC on it, set up, record the podcast, wheel it and put it away again, and then get on with whatever video I was making that day. A normal day's work, having recorded the podcast. And so you might think that's a job well done. Yeah, I got a bit carried away because we're going to step out of the lab now and we're going to go to the studio end, which you know so well from my videos, my apple crate backdrop. I decided to rip that out. Some of it went into the lab area. You saw some of it in the background there. And I decided to take the rest of the crates apart and use them as they were intended. Use them as crates and create a whole new area of the cave. I wanted to bulk out the museum portion, which is that middle area, that middle zone of the cave there. So there were a lot more to look at, a lot more exhibitions to look at, a lot more that I can film and talk about. And then build a rotating hands-on exhibition space, which has space for about 4 machines at the end. And then we can theme it and we can rotate it. We can make videos about it and people can come and try them. So what did that work entail? It entailed bringing up a huge amount of furniture, scaffold-based furniture, wood furniture, some of which you saw in the lab there as well. That all had to come up the stairs. Then we stripped the set back. And then I had this great plan of having, if you see the wall here where I'm hoovering, I was going to create a U-shape rack and a U-shape floor using the same black mat in there. But what I discovered is nothing is straight in this mill. The left wall is longer than the right wall before it hits the first beam. The back wall is not straight. There are no right angles at all in those corners. It's not straight. So if you start trying to build a straight set or a straight line in the matting, it just looks wrong. Nothing lines up, or you think you've got it right, and then you look down the room and you're off at an angle like this and the room goes off at an angle like that. It just doesn't work at all. So I had to do away with any idea of straight lines. So my original vision for using this furniture changed somewhat, and this is how it turned out. More on display, more out of the storeroom, more to do. That's my goal out here. Talking points, history lessons like this Amstrad display. Look at that, that's gorgeous. And that Amstrad CPC 664 with the lovely blue keys. And an Apple display also. Fewer Apple crates, more apples is the theme. At the far end is what I'm calling the systems library. 8 additional systems and all of their cables will go in the crates down low, and that means we can quickly and easily rotate what's on display or set something up on demand even during a session. There's space for 4 systems to be enjoyed on the desks, and it gives a reason to come to this end of the cave and stay here and enjoy it rather than just looking at the old studio and disappearing again. I mean, what bigger draw could there be than a Philips CDI? Okay, maybe I need to rethink that, but we have options. The rear of the plan chest that was in this space before has been clad with the remains of the cladding and put into the middle of the room, where it continues to make a great display unit. The Codemasters tapes that were in here are now in the lab door, but I've just been loaned a complete set of Amiga Hit Squad games which occupy 5 if not 6 drawers when they're all in here. So there's a video and a display to be made about those soon. I'm really looking forward to that, and thank you to Cine Steve for all the loan of his collection. And on top of the plan chest, there are some of Robin's recent donations which we saw on the channel, and that too will rotate to show new and interesting things all the time. So this is all an area I never intended to redevelop. It was supposed to be me creating a lab today, but I'm glad I went the extra mile. I got the bug and I just wanted to do something different with this space, and I think it adds a whole new dimension to the cave, both for videos and for visitors. So as you can see, it's been a hell of a lot of work in the last 2 weeks. I'm really grateful to Richard and Alex for helping me out as and where they could. I'm really pleased with the result, and I hope you are too. I think visually what we've created is quite striking, both on video and in person if you come and visit. I think it offers us a brilliant space in the lab now to film with. We actually opened on Saturday. I had this ready on Saturday. It's Monday now that I'm filming. We had a public day on Saturday, and it was really interesting because 2 things happened. First of all, people often come and visit on a Saturday and they donate things, which is really lovely. And the space in the lab, the desk in the lab, gave us the opportunity to just do a live unboxing. In fact, let me show you some of them so you don't miss out. A chap called Dr. Ian Logan came in. He's a very well-known name to people in the ZX Spectrum scene. Just a fascinating guy to chat to, really lovely guy to chat to. And he also donated a lot of his Sinclair machines in these cases here, ZX Spectrums. There was a QL, there was a selection of printers. And what we were able to do was just put them on the desk, chat, open them up, explore them, and people gathered round and just watched the unboxing. It was a really nice touch, a really nice addition to a normal day here in the cave. So we'll do a lot more of that. And then the second thing that happened was a lady came into the lab and started talking about Commodore Amiga 500, which she was having problems with. All the problem was that the screw has threaded in the disk drive, so she couldn't remove the disk drive. The disk drive was broken. She just wanted to take it out, and she couldn't. And I said, well, we could have a look at it. You don't happen to have it with you, do you? She said, yes, I've got it in my car. Can I bring it up? So that was our first repair. Here's a clip of it. I say repair, we took a hacksaw to it. Our first repair was hacksawing the end of a screw off in an Amiga 500. And we did it. We managed to get that disk drive out. No amount of rubber bands or cutting into the screw or anything like that was going to get that screw out. It was destroyed. So we had to hacksaw it. John and Holly there helping me with that. And we got it out. So there we go. Our first repair in the lab happened on the very first day that it opened. Wasn't expecting it to involve hacksaws, but a repair is a repair, and she went away very happy indeed. There was no charge for that, by the way. I'm not charging people for hacksawing Amigas. So I was really happy with how this went. And before I sign off today, I just wanted to reflect on something that I've said before on the channel when we built Cave 3.0 and when we moved here, and when we made the retro colouring book, which we sold to help fund this place. All of this work, all of this effort It's directly in correlation to the support that you give. I just wanted to say a huge thank you for your support. This place exists because of your views, because of your clicks, because of your thumbs ups, because of your subscriptions, and because of the official Cave Dwellers, the patrons who support the channel and give a little bit every month. And it's that support that helps us keep doing what we're doing, keep growing, keep building this amazing place. Who would have thought that we would be stood here building a lab, having this incredible space, having a recreated fake retro shop, just all of this. Who would have thought this would have happened when we started out with Cave 1.0, just doing eBay listings because I needed to raise some money selling some of my old retro kit. It's incredible. It happens because of you, and I just wanted to say a massive thank you for supporting me. If you wanted to join the official Cave Dwellers and help to continue this project, to continue what we're doing, head over to patreon.com/RMC Retro. I will be eternally grateful for your help. If not, just keep on watching and keep on enjoying the videos, and there will be many more videos in that lab coming in future and throughout the whole of the cave. Now that I've forced myself not to have that apple crate set and forced myself to use the whole cave as a set, you'll be seeing a lot more of it. And if there's any part of the cave you want to see in particular, just let me know, and I can share pictures or videos of those areas. And that is not the end of the building. Give me a couple more months and we've got another space over there which we're going to build, and I am so excited about this. Currently it's a storeroom, and what we're going to put in that room, we're going to clear it out, and what we're going to put in there is a chap called Jason. So Jason was a game developer on the Commodore 64 in the 80s. He's still got all of his development kit. He's got what's called a PDS system. He's got all of the adapters for the C64, the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, so that he can develop games using that same kit, squirt those games into those machines, and he's going to recreate his office from the 80s. So it will become like that area will become like a living museum with Jason as the exhibit. You can go in, you can see him, he can show you how he developed games. He's going to develop new games. In fact, he's already developing new games using the system again. So you can go in, you can see how a game's developed. You can see the code, he can talk you through it. He also makes his own music for the games. He's going to have his synths there all set up. He can show you how music is made, how it all comes together, how the graphics are made. All in what we have codenamed so far the Dev Den, the development den. So that's going to be Jason's domain. I can't wait to show you it, and people who come and visit can enjoy it. And there will of course be YouTube videos filmed in there with him, and it will be the perfect set for any future developers who want to come and visit and give us a talk and tell us about their projects or their history. We can sit them in that authentic 80s game development room and chat to them. So many exciting things happening. As I said, it's all because of you, and I'm eternally grateful for your support. Thank you, everyone, and I'm looking forward to that build. Okay, the next video will be the Packard Bell, I think. In that room, we're going to finish up the Packard Bell Trash to Treasure series. Now we've got the lab. I'm going to get stuck into it right away, and I'll see you in that video. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.